Warfare, both large and small, is a cornerstone of fantasy storytelling. And yet despite this importance, so many stories are full of glaring mistakes that could have been prevented. From unrealistic logistics to oversimplified battle tactics, in this video we'll explore all of the major flaws I've come across and how avoiding them can open up incredible storytelling opportunities for you. So sit back, relax, and let's tackle this one step at a time. Logistics are a foundational part of warfare, but they are rarely treated as such in fantasy stories. Picture this: vast armies in fantasy realms, marching over hills and dales ready for epic confrontations. The sight is mesmerizing, isn't it? But let's pause and ponder a crucial aspect often missing from these narratives. How are these legions fed, armed, and healed? In the realm of fantasy, especially high fantasy, we often witness armies traverse great distances, but the nitty-gritty of their sustenance and armament is seldom addressed. It's as if these aspects are magically taken care of, but imagine the immense effort required to feed an army, let alone arm it. It's a colossal undertaking involving supply lines, food preparation, and resource management. And this isn't just about stocking up on swords and shields. It's about the logistics behind all of these operations, the human endeavor to keep an army afloat. Let's not forget about the medical side of things either. In the thick of battle, injuries are inevitable, but how often do we see a realistic portrayal of healing and recovery? Armies in fantasy settings seem to bounce back with ease, ready for the next battle without showing the aftermath of war, the wounded, the healers, and the recovery process. This lack of focus on supplies and logistics creates a gap in the believability of these stories. It's like setting the stage for a grand play, but forgetting to consider how the actors prepare behind the curtain. The logistics of maintaining an army, though, can add layers of depth and realism, grounding these fantastical narratives in a semblance of reality. For aspiring writers and world builders, he is a goldmine of untapped storytelling potential. Imagine integrating scenes where supply lines are as crucial as the front line, where the strategy behind food distribution could turn the tide of war. Picture a scene where your hero navigates not just the battlefield, but also the intricate logistics of keeping their forces intact. Show the struggle of gathering resources in a besieged city, or maintaining a supply line under enemy harassment. These moments add a layer of realism and urgency that can captivate your audience. They help ground your warfare while offering vast opportunities for character growth and world building. So as we embark on creating worlds and weaving tales of grand battles, let's not forget these less glamorous but equally vital aspects of warfare. Let's give life to the unsung heroes of logistics and supplies, the backbone of any army, fantasy or not. Time to shift our focus to another flaw that is caused by a lack of proper treatment, and that is the oversimplification of battle tactics. Picture the classic scene in fantasy battles: armies clashing in a chaotic melee, swords swinging and shields bashing. It's visually stunning, but scratch beneath the surface and you often find a lack of strategic depth. Battles are more than just a clash of swords. They are the culmination of careful planning, understanding terrain, and psychological warfare. But in fantasy, we often miss these nuanced layers. Think about famous battles from history. They weren't just about who had the biggest army or the sharpest swords. They were about strategy, positioning, morale, and sometimes the element of surprise. For those crafting their own worlds and stories, here lies another opportunity to stand out by delving deeper into the art of war. Show us generals poring over maps, debating tactics. Let your characters grapple with the morale and strategic dilemmas of warfare. Maybe your hero has to choose between a direct assault and a flanking maneuver, or perhaps they must deal with the challenge of keeping their troops' morale high in the face of overwhelming odds. And it's not just about the leaders. Give us a glimpse into the rank and file soldiers' perspectives. How do they react to these tactics? What's it like to be a part of a feint retreat or a sudden flank attack? In short, let's elevate our fantasy battle scenes. Let's infuse them with the strategic brilliance and the psychological complexity that true warfare demands. After all, a battle is more than just a fight. It's a dance of minds, a test of wills, and a showcase of tactical genius. Let's capture that essence in our fantasy worlds. As we continue our journey through the biggest flaws in fantasy warfare, remember, every aspect, from logistics to tactics, plays a pivotal role in shaping a believable, immersive, and captivating narrative. In many fantasy narratives, once the dust settles on the battlefield, the story quickly moves on, leaving the consequences of war unexplored. However, the reality of war extends far beyond the battlefield. The economic, social, and environmental impacts of these conflicts are profound and far-reaching, yet they are seldom given the attention they deserve. In the real world, battles shape landscapes, alter economies, and transform societies. They leave scars, both visible and invisible, on nations and individuals alike. For writers and creators, this is an area ripe for exploration. Picture a scene after a major battle, the towns and villages coping with the loss, the struggle to rebuild, and the challenge of healing both physical and emotional wounds. These moments can add layers of emotion to your story, providing a more rounded and realistic portrayal of warfare. Moreover, consider the impact on civilians. Often in fantasy, we focus on the warriors and the nobles, but the lives of ordinary people are equally, if not more, affected by the ravages of war. How do they cope with the disruption, the loss, the fear? Including these elements in your narrative isn't just about adding realism, it's about telling a more complete story. It's about acknowledging the full spectrum of war's consequences. Show us the farmers struggling to harvest their crops in a war-torn land, the families torn apart by conflict, or the difficult path to rebuilding what was lost. As we craft our fantasy worlds, let's not shy away from these hard truths. Let's use them to add emotional weight and moral complexity to our stories. By doing so, we not only create a more immersive and believable world, but we also pay tribute to the spirit and resilience of those who endure and overcome the horrors of war in our worlds. Now, if you found anything useful in the video so far, please consider giving it a like to help me grow this channel. Thank you. Delving deeper into the intricacies of fantasy warfare, we encounter a domain where imagination often eclipses reality: the portrayal of weaponry and armor. On fantastical battlefields, we frequently see armor and weapons that defy practicality. This is particularly true in video games, but does appear in other stories as well. Enormous swords that would be unmanageable in real combat, or armor that prioritizes aesthetic over protection, especially in the case of female warriors. While these elements can be visually captivating, they often neglect the principles of historical accuracy and practicality that governed real-life warfare. As a storyteller, infusing realism into your armory and weaponry can be a game changer. Research historical weapons and armor for inspiration. Understand why certain designs were favored, how they evolved, and the materials used. For instance, the weight and balance of a sword were critical for its utility in battle. Similarly, with armor, consider its practical aspects. Historically, armor was designed for protection, mobility, or status representation. Reflecting these considerations in your story not only adds credibility, but also opens avenues of cultural exploration within your world. Now let's delve into an aspect that often captures the spotlight in fantasy warfare: the portrayal of heroic duels and the glorification of war. In many fantasy epics, the climax often hinges on a dramatic duel between the hero and the villain. While these moments are undeniably thrilling, epitomizing the struggle between good and evil, they can sometimes reduce the complexities of war to a simple black and white conflict. Heroic duels, though narratively compelling, risk oversimplifying the realities of warfare and the multitude of factors that play into conflicts. Moreover, these narratives sometimes inadvertently glorify war. The depiction of valiant warriors engaging in heroic duels can overshadow the grimmer aspects of war, the loss, the suffering, and the moral ambiguities. In real warfare, victory often comes at a great cost, a nuance that can be lost amidst the glorification of heroic battles. For storytellers and world builders, this presents an opportunity to tread a different path. While not diminishing the allure of heroic duels, consider also exploring the complexities surrounding them. Use these moments to delve into the characters' motivations, their inner conflicts, and the broader implications of their actions. Instead of solely focusing on the physical confrontation, explore the psychological battle that precedes and follows the duel. How does the anticipation of this confrontation weigh on the hero? What are the repercussions of the duel on the wider conflict? This approach adds additional depth to your characters and allows your audience a deeper insight into their fears and morals. Now, regarding the glorification of war, strive for a balanced portrayal. Acknowledge the heroism and bravery, but also the brutality and heartache of war. Show the aftermath, the wounded, the grieving, the rebuilding. This doesn't mean shying away from heroic narratives, but rather complementing them with a portrayal of war's true cost. As creators, we hold the power to shape perceptions, By presenting a more nuanced view of heroic duels and the realities of war, we offer our audience a richer, more thought-provoking experience. Let's venture into our next pivotal aspect of fantasy warfare: the role of magic as a conflict resolver and the challenges posed by inconsistent magic in warfare. Magic, in its myriad forms, is often the cornerstone of fantasy narratives. It adds an element of wonder and allows for creative solutions to complex problems. However, when magic is used as a deus ex machina to conveniently resolve conflicts, it can undermine the depth and stakes of the story. It's the same type of unsatisfying experience for the audience that random divine interventions run the risk of creating. The inconsistent application of magic then is another common pitfall. When the rules and impacts of magic vary widely, sometimes feeling arbitrary, it can lead to a lack of coherence and believability in the narrative. For writers and world builders, here's an opportunity to delve deeper into the strategic implications of magic in warfare. Consider how magic could realistically influence battle tactics, logistics, and even diplomacy. How would opposing sides counter magical abilities? What role does espionage play in uncovering magical secrets or weaknesses? Instead of using magic as a mere tool for spectacular battle scenes, weave it into the fabric of your military strategies and political intrigues. For example, imagine a scenario where a magical barrier protects a city, and the siege tactics revolve around bypassing or breaking this barrier. Or a situation where healers use magic not just to heal wounds, but also to counter enemy spells, adding a layer of magical warfare that complements the physical battle. By thoughtfully integrating magic into your warfare narratives, you can create a more immersive and captivating world without losing the sense of wonder that magic adds to your stories. Magic should enhance the story's depth, not detract from it. Its presence in warfare should offer unique challenges and opportunities for your characters to navigate. Now, if you need some inspiration for your own magic system, check out the video at the top covering 8 ancient magics that will help ground your world through historical context. As we continue our journey through the multifaceted world of fantasy warfare, let's explore an aspect that often shapes the heart of conflict narratives: the portrayal of enemy forces. In many fantasy tales, enemy forces are depicted as monolithic evil, lacking depth and complexity. While this can create clear-cut protagonists and antagonists, it also misses the opportunity to explore a more nuanced and realistic portrayal of conflict, where motivations and moralities are diverse and multifaceted. Moreover, fantasy warfare often defaults to Western medieval concepts, overlooking the rich tapestry of military traditions across different cultures and histories. This narrow focus not only limits the narrative scope, but also denies the audience a chance to experience the full spectrum of military strategies and practices that have existed in our world. Try to imagine enemy forces with their own cultures, values, and motivations. What drives them to war? Are there internal conflicts or different ideologies within their ranks? Diversifying the portrayal of enemy forces can add a layer of intrigue to your story, making the conflict more engaging and thought-provoking. Similarly, drawing inspiration from a variety of military cultures can enrich your world building. Study different historical periods and regions to understand how warfare was conducted. How did geography, technology, and societal structures influence military tactics and organization? Incorporating these elements can provide a fresh perspective on fantasy warfare, moving beyond the typical medieval European setting. By creating diverse and multidimensional enemy forces and drawing from a range of military cultures, you not only make your world more vibrant and interesting, but also open the door to exploring themes of empathy, understanding, and the gray areas of morality and war. As we near the conclusion of our journey into the depths of fantasy warfare, let's turn our attention to a last crucial yet often underrepresented aspect: the psychological impact on soldiers. This element brings a humanizing lens to the often glorified depiction of war in fantasy narratives. In many fantasy stories, the focus is predominantly on the physical aspects of war, the clashing of swords, the strategic maneuvers, the heroic feats. However, the mental and emotional toll that warfare takes on participating individuals is a reality that is frequently overlooked. Soldiers, even in fantastical settings, bear the brunt of war's horrors, facing fear, trauma, and the moral quandaries of combat. Incorporating these psychological dimensions can profoundly deepen your narrative. Imagine a character grappling with the aftermath of battle, dealing with PTSD, guilt, or moral injury. These internal battles can be as compelling and critical as the external ones. They add a layer of realism and empathy, making your characters more relatable and human. Moreover, exploring these psychological impacts offers an opportunity to address broader themes like the cost of heroism, the weight of survival, and the complexities of moral choices in war. How does a soldier reconcile their actions in battle with their sense of self? What coping mechanisms do they employ? And how do these experiences shape their journey? For storytellers, this is a chance to diverge from the typical portrayal of warriors as unflinching heroes. Show the diversity of responses to trauma, the struggles with mental health, and the journey towards healing and understanding. These elements not only bring authenticity to your portrayal of warfare, but also resonate with real-world issues, making your story more impactful. By embracing these complexities, we can craft narratives that are not only captivating, but also reflective of the deeper truths of conflict and human experience. But for now, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Have a great day, and see you in the next one.